Hello, I'm Russell Kane, but I'm not on my own today. Who's with me?
Auntie Christine.
Auntie Christine's here, and you're listening to Nextbase's first ever Summer Unlocked podcast. Christine, we're going to keep people company on their long drives all over the United Kingdom. The friends, the kids, the dog. We've got to keep the whole car entertained because they're heading to Britain's hidden gems. How well hidden are Britain's gems? If you could go one place in the UK right now, where would you go? Anywhere. Go on, Christine. Where would you go? You can't say Tesco's in Stretford. Anywhere else?
Llandudno.
Llandudno. There you go. A hidden gem. It's so well hidden that I've been there and found nothing. But we are going to keep you amused. And they haven't got much choice, have they, Christine? We're going to keep putting ourselves in their ear holes.
Yes.
We're doing this with the help of the UK's leading dashcam brand because they've invited us to come on board and help entertain you folks. It's going to be a long summer of driving. People are heading to Cornwall, Scotland, Wales and Llandudno. Do you know, Christine, do you know how many hours of driving people are going to be doing this summer? 1.8 billion. If you add together all the hours of driving that all the people are doing, it's nearly 2 billion hours, and we've got to fill every single one of those hours.
Right, okay.
No, I'm joking. We'd be dead. If we did 1.8 billion, we'd both be skeletons and we'd be dead. Well, that worked. And no, we're going to cover everything, Christine. I want to know about your interaction with a killer seagull. We're going to learn about Jane McDonald, who's just, it's a bit like Coronation Street plus music, Jane McDonald, isn't it?
Yes.
Exactly. And also the type of holiday that I'm determined to get Christine on one day, which is having it large in Ibiza. Would you like to go to Pasha and dance to house music one day?
Yes.
Would you do that, really? You know, dance.
Yes.
Yeah, you would. Great. Brilliant. So we're holding you to that. Check out all the details of Nextbase's full summer unlocked campaign and how you can win free family tickets to some of the top attractions around the UK by visiting @Nextbase UK on Facebook or Twitter and @Nextbase_UK on Instagram. Of course, wait until it's safe to do so. No checking phones whilst driving. Please. We're like your brains in your head, not all over your bonnet. Okay, Christine, I had to try and think of a name for this episode, so I'm going to call it Airbags. How are your airbags today, okay?
Yes, they're fine.
Good,
thanks.
good. It's important to really keep good control of your airbags. Lindsay says a sports bra sorts her out. So I want to talk about driving with family and friends. Now, we come from very different worlds, Christine. I'm not a prejudiced person, and I don't like to dislike any group of people or single them out, but there is a certain type of person, their DNA is different, they're different to the rest of us. It's going to be hard to say it. They are the non-driver. People that have never driven, never learned to drive. They're a certain type of person who go, if you just come and pick me up, it's 5 hours there and I'll be in the front garden with my bag, love. They have no perception of the other person's driving. I want to ask you, honestly, why have you never learned to drive? Honestly.
I don't know. I wish I had now, but I didn't at the time, you know.
Was it
all these idiots on their own, you know.
Yeah. So, would you think it was a confidence thing? Because my mum is another non-driver.
Yes.
So I spend my whole life collecting her. She's like, even at the weekend, she's like, if you just drive 2 hours here, drop Minna, that's my daughter, and then just drive home and come again in the morning. There's no perception of the 6-hour round driving that I've done. And with my mum, it was a confidence thing because my dad, Dave, was always like, you will crash, you will fail, a very negative person. Do you think you had a bit of that going on?
Yes, no confidence.
And it wasn't like, if we can talk about Barry, your husband, Barry.
Yes.
Whose nickname is?
Barry the Bee.
And we don't mean bar steward, do we?
No.
Not a steward of bars. So
Barstool.
Now this is Barry the Barstool. He was a drinker, and but this is more complex because he was actually a driving instructor, wasn't he? So you had a BSM.
I know.
Instructor car parked
I slipped
outside.
up big time.
And what?
Because I could have learnt to drive then, you know.
And what would happen if Barry ever took you out driving? What happened? Would you just argue, or did you never even attempt it?
Well, I went out once and I just stalled. My nerves got to me, and then he just stopped the car. Well, I stopped the car, and then he come round and went in the driver's because I had to hold all the traffic up, you know. But it was my confidence after that. I couldn't go behind a wheel.
But Barry was a bit like my dad, Dave. If people don't know, my dad, Dave, is the steroid injecting, shaven-headed, knuckle-dragging, right-wing voting, steroid taking, weightlifting, sheet metal shaping, 3 ripples of meat between head and neck, Neanderthal Dave. Just so angry when driving.
Yes, yeah.
I mean, I was 20.
He didn't have any patience.
No.
No.
I was probably 22 before I realised it wasn't normal to get out of your car and rip your wing mirror off just because someone cut you up at a roundabout.
Oh, well, he didn't do that.
No, but my dad did. Sat there about the window in a temper.
All right.
But what do you
No
think you've
patience.
What do you think you've lost in life from not? Do you not see? To me, from the age of 17, if I can think of something, I could just get in a car and go and do it. So I got my first girlfriend when I was 17. Woo! Even people that play Dungeons and Dragons eventually get some of the action. And I mean, it's more impressive than it sounds. I was a 17th level wizard, so just throwing that in there. But I was with this girl Anne Marie, and we were really really in love. But she lived in High Wycombe, and I lived in Enfield at the time. That's 45 minutes, but it might as well be another world when you're 17. So as soon as I had a car, it was that freedom just to go out of your front door and go anywhere. But as a non-driver, this is what I can't get my head around. If my mum, she gets to a window and she's just trapped like a fly in a conservatory, it's like, I can't go anywhere because I don't drive. Do you not feel stranded the whole time? Or you
It's just what you get used to. You go on a bus. Shanks's pony.
What's a Shanks's pony? What's that?
Well, that's a northern phrase.
Wait a minute, hold on a second. So I understand that you might not drive, so you need to get a bus. Are you telling me that in the north, am I pronouncing it right, the north, that you actually...
With Shanks's pony.
You would stab a pony?
No. Well, it's just a northern...
Shank a pony down here means you would do a makeshift weapon, maybe have a melted toothbrush.
No, we don't mean that, but that was our saying.
So because
Shanks's pony because you can't drive.
So you would
and
travel
you have to go on the bus.
But by pony originally, obviously. That's where the phrase must come from.
I don't know.
You with your club card and your bag for life. Can you just trot a bit slower, please, Shanksy? I'm getting car sick up here. So, I mean, I'm being funny, but it's a serious issue, isn't it? Like this is the thing that cars liberate us to do. This is a freedom to get around, and particularly a woman of your generation. I won't be so rude as to mention your age. I think listeners would be shocked if they Googled your topless selfies and saw wonderful Nick for your age, all 3 of you, Christine. And but it's particularly for a woman of your generation, same age as my mum. It was like it's to do with freedom, like to be a woman and not be able to drive. You're sort of doubly held back, aren't you? Because you're already got the thin end of the wedge. If you're a mum in the 70s, you're not exactly at the top of the power chain in society.
No.
And a car could have been. Do you know what?
When you've got to be able to buy a car and run the car, which in them days, no, you couldn't. It just depends on your situation.
And what was the safety like on driving? Because obviously today, I mean, this is just a general fun chat about driving, but being in association with Nextbase, it's all about the dash cam and making driving safer. That's all what we're about these days anyway. With or without a dash cam, that's the whole move is towards road safety. But there are some funny stories about back in the 70s and 80s about where people would drive. I was listening to Jason Manford the other day saying that they would go from Manchester to Blackpool and he would travel in the footwell of one of the cars if there wasn't room. And you'd put the smaller kids in the boot and things like that.
Oh, my God.
And there were no seat belts or anything. Did you ever see any crazy things when you were driving or...?
Well, when we used to go on holiday and we went to Dover one time.
Bloody hell, that's a long way.
Well, it was when we travelled at night. So my dad used to put...
The pony must have been knackered by the time you arrived. Just shoot it, we'll get a fresh one in Kent.
My dad used to put a board in between the back seat.
Yeah.
And where the stairwell is. So me and our
The
Yvonne...
stairwell? Do you mean the little the footwell?
Yes. Used to put a board there. So me and our Yvonne, my sister, she used to be on the back seat and then they had like a duvet thing so we could lie there and go asleep while my dad was travelling all that way in the night.
You can do that now, no seatbelt.
Yes.
That's probably illegal now, isn't it? It'd be more like a launching board.
This is it. We had nothing on, no.
Get your hands on a Nextbase dashcam with built-in Alexa, HD touchscreen, emergency SOS system and built-in Bluetooth and Wi-Fi. What more could you want? Just visit Nextbase's website or any of its social channels. Tell me about, so Lindsay, who is my wife for the listeners, so you're my auntie by marriage, you're my auntie-in-law. Now, Lindsay swears that you used to travel in a comedy sidecar with a crash helmet on when Barry had a motorbike, and you deny it. Did you or did you not travel in a sidecar like Olive off the buses? Did you?
I have done it once, but he had, my husband had a Honda 50 bike, so I used to just get on the back.
Right.
And so you had to wear your helmets or your waterproofs in case it was raining, you know. But they made a joke of it, saying we look like Olive on the buses.
It is like the least female empowering thing I can think of is actually putting a woman in a carbon container at the side of a motorbike with just her head popping out like she's being delivered by Deliveroo or something. Did anyone order a wife?
Well, it's the only way you didn't have any money to buy a car.
No.
And that was he passed his test to go on the motorbike and off we went, you know. It was
so that's
good.
when you were younger?
Oh, when we were
dating
courting, yeah.
Right.
When we were
On
courting.
the back of Barry's bike.
Yeah.
Once you got your leg over that, the rest is history.
Well,
Two
this
kids.
is it, yeah.
So next I want to talk about long journeys because we know where you live. You live in the sort of south of Manchester. Our listeners may have detected a slight accent there. So if you go in somewhere like Dover or down south, they're long journeys, and we've got to keep ourselves amused on these long journeys. And this has been an unusual summer for the United Kingdom. A lot of people going on domestic holidays. So we're back doing what we used to do in the 70s and 80s, and in the 50s, 60s, 70s and 80s, which is going on holiday domestically. So this issue of how we keep ourselves amused while we're travelling is coming up more and more. So if you and I are going on a road trip today and we're going to be doing a 4-hour drive, there's 3 groups of people. There is stare out of the window drooling. I've never understood. They can just stare. I see them on the train, just like that, their mouths open, totally fine for 4 hours.
Looking at all the sheep.
Exactly.
And the horses and the cows.
A drooling mouth open traveller. There's a music traveller. Again, I don't understand. Just having a disco in the seat, like you're recovering from some sort of skiing injury and don't have your legs yet. And then there's my group, stimulating conversation. You're obviously in my group, listeners, as you're currently listening to this. Podcasts, audiobooks. My brain has to be full the whole way there. Which group do you fall into? Are you a window starer, a boogier?
Both. Music, all the 60s. I'll be happy with that all along, yeah. To my destination.
You like a bit of hand dancing, didn't you? Because you did chair aerobics recently, which I don't understand. Chair aerobics is where you're not quite ready for the full move to exercise. So what you do is you sit down and just wiggle your arms aerobically.
Yeah.
Chair aerobics. Do you remember you
Yeah.
did one lesson?
Yeah.
So would you do a bit of seat dancing? Because this is what the people who be listening to this will go, I've got kids screaming in the back here. Give us some tips, guys. So we've got audiobook. That'd be my first tip. There's lots of websites. I'm not recommending just Audible, but head to Audible. The selection of kids' books there are fantastic. So as a mum and dad, you don't need to be bored because you can catch up on some classics you never listened to. Say, Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe, for example. You've got Stephen Fry reading Harry Potter. There's loads of things you can do on a journey. There's music where we can have like a chair disco.
Yeah, so it's exercise with your arms and like dancing, you know.
Or you can just stare out the window.
To the 60s music, yeah.
But there is one particular song you like in there that I do have issue with, which is the Puck. What's his name?
Oh, Gary Puckett.
Yeah, he's called
Young girl, get out of my mind.
Now these are the lyrics in the current climate we're in. I'm not comfortable with. I'm not going to. This is a family podcast, so I'm simply going to quote Gary Puckett's lyrics, and we'll decide whether it's appropriate to listen to with the family.
Yeah.
Young girl, this is played on the radio, so I'm not being offensive here. I'm just quoting the lyrics. Yeah. Young girl, get out of my mind. You're way too young. It's way out of line. And that's Christine's favourite song. That's how you end up on the back of a motorbike, age 16, in a family way, Christine.
Oh, no, he's lovely, though.
Yeah, he's lovely. He gets released, doesn't he, in a couple of years on with an electronic tag.
Oh, I I've shook his hand as well.
Really?
We went to see him in a show. Yeah.
You went to see Gary Puckett?
Yes, he was here. And and at the interval, he was selling all his brochures, and I went, and Stella said, "Oh, there's
Stella?
my friend."
Yeah.
And she said, "There's Gary Puckett," So I went up to him, and I thought, well, I'll just do it.
When's
so I
this?
just held my hand out like that, and he shook my hand.
When's this?
Oh, it's a couple of years now. But it was lovely. He was at the Bridgewater Hall.
Really?
Yeah, it was lovely.
He must have got early release then. I genuinely thought he was still inside. Electronic tag, get off of my ankle. So, there is another thing we need to talk about. People that can sleep whilst travelling. Now, this is a real gift, particularly if we're talking about travelling in a car in the UK. If you've got to go, for example, from Manchester to Kent, isn't it a gift just to be able to switch your brain off and do what I call dead bird head? Dead bird head is where you've fallen asleep and your chin is just bobbing. That's what Christine does. That's what Lindsay does, Christine. She just falls asleep. Sometimes, before we've even got out of our road, the head's gone and it bobs. Like, the way when you pick up a dead bird and the neck does that.
I can't do
and then
that.
Lindsay will wake up in
No.
Edinburgh, for example, and go, "Oh my God, are we already there? It went so quickly." I was like, "Did it? With me driving? Did it pass quickly for you while you were unconscious?"
I can't even go asleep on the plane. There's
No.
always so much going on.
But what is it that stops you going to sleep on a long journey? For me, it's the
I don't know.
I can't bear the thought someone can look at my face while I'm sleeping. So even on an aeroplane, even if I've got a posh seat with a flat bed, I'm like, what
With
if,
the mask on.
what if someone looks around the corner and observes my vulnerable sleeping body? It puts me off.
Right.
So you can't sleep.
No.
So
No.
I think you're either a meerkat or a sloth
Right. Okay.
when you're travelling. So
A
alert.
meerkat.
Right. The other thing we need to talk about seriously is bladder strength on travel. Now, there'll be many people that get in a car with, we're just going to go straight through. I want to do 3 hours on the journey, no problem. With Minna the other day, I had to stop 4 times. I had my first ever holding a child while it pooed at the side of the road. Has anyone else done that? Please tweet me. Loads of people have held up a child while it wheezes at the side of the road. You see it all day long. What people don't realise is it's a lot more complicated operation when you've got a little girl. Because you have to get the angle just right, otherwise it's into the clothes, it's over. I mean, I wear shorts now because it's easier to clean pee off my leg. But the other day was the first, "I need to poo, Daddy. Can you wait 1 minute?" No. You can't wait 1 minute. "No, I'm going. And then before you know it, you're doing a poo at the side of the road.
It's a shame.
Are you a weak bladder or a strong bladder traveller?
A medium bladder.
Medium. I have to.
If I've got a long journey, if I can go to the toilet once and stop, just stretch, my legs and everything. But that's all. Then get back on, and I'm straight there.
But what are you like once you get out of the services? Can you go past everything, or are you like a magpie? Because they draw you in, don't they? They've got the machines with the claws.
Oh no,
They've got shops
we
with
don't
electronics.
With
They've got
that.
magazines.
We just go straight to the loo, and
This is a lot of pain that parents go through. If you stop, you are tempted in
you're tempted
to the shops, and then you buy a Barbie magazine. Before Minna was born, I was like, she'll never be exposed to Barbie. My daughter's going to grow up as a feminist. She'll probably be into engineering or astronautics by the time she's 6. And now I'm just, there she is, playing with toy high heels, going, "When can I wear makeup, Daddy?" Well, I just cry. And then my Nextbase dash cam captures my tears as I arrive at my destination. Arguments. Finally, in this episode, I want to talk about conflict on the road, because it's a serious thing. So there's lots of theories, psychologists talking about why people get so much more angry. Like, what is road rage? Why do people get so much more angry when they're in a car?
it's all the traffic, isn't it?
Do you
It's
think
just,
so? I think it's something to do about the smallness of the space, like it's your territory. People forget we're apes at the end of the day. We are monkeys. We're very territorial. And there's something about being in a really small metallic show, you feel really protected. So I'm quite a reasonable, peaceful guy. But if someone even toots at me, in my head, I fantasize about getting out like Liam Neeson and like turning the car over with a particular set of skills. Go, "Did you toot me, mate? How'd you like this?" And the head twists off like a cartoon. That's what happens in my imagination. Why? I mean, have you ever witnessed road rage? Did Barry ever get a bit of the road rage?
A little bit, you know. It just depends on the traffic, if it was we're stuck in traffic. And I tell you what he would never do. If we couldn't find a place, I said, ask that man there or ask that lady there. He would never stop and say, oh, can you tell me where such a place is, mate, please? You know, he would never do it, and I could have hit him, you know.
Why don't men ask directions?
What is
it about being a man?
He'd try and find it himself, and he'd probably go the opposite way, and we'd be an hour out of our time, you know.
But what is it about being a man where you would rather be found as the skeleton dead in a desert in Australia than ask directions from a stranger? My last thought would be, as I gasped my dehydrated last air, would be, at least didn't ask anyone which way to go. What is it about men that make us like that? What do you think?
They're stupid, that's what.
Yes, Christine, I agree. Stupid. I mean, I can't think of a better place to end. I mean, ironically, I can't think of anything else to say which backs up your theory I have no brain cells. Our airbags have been detonated. We've been cushioned. We have come to a stop. We're going to take a pause there at the end of our first ever episode, keeping people amused on the road. How do you think it went, Christine?
Very well.
Did you?
Yeah.
I thought it was quite average, really. Thank you for listening to me, Russell, and my lovely Auntie Christine as we shared our best and worst memories and experiences of holidaying in the UK for Nextbase's Summer Unlocked podcast series. Have a good one.